Welcome, everyone, to this JMP Academic webinar, Focus, Simplify, and GenAI, making JMP easier to use for your students. This is Ross Matusalem here, JMP Academic Ambassador. I'm here just to host today's webinar. The presentation will be given by my colleague, Volker Kraft, and a very special guest we're delighted to have with us today, Co Reepkema from Eindhoven University of Technology in the Netherlands. So today, Volker and Co. are going to review some tips and techniques for simplifying your students' experience using JMP Student Edition software. Now, JMP Student Edition actually isn't a simplified teaching tool. It's industry-grade statistics software that's built on JMP's most advanced commercial software offering, JMP Pro. So today's webinar is all about providing students the guidance that they need to navigate this full-featured software environment effectively. Now, before we get started, I do want to encourage you to ask any questions throughout using Zoom's Q&A panel. You can go ahead and find it under the little icon that I've displayed on the slides here. Any questions that you have for Volker and Co., please do put them into the Q&A. If there are simple questions, I may answer them as we go along, but then we also have, after the 30-minute presentation today, 15 minutes of additional time allotted for Q&A, and we can answer many of the questions there as well. If you have general comments you'd like to make to the group, go ahead and use the chat, but please do type any questions you would like answered today into the Q&A. So with that, Volker, Co, are you ready to go?
Yes, we are.
We are. Thank you, Ross, and welcome everyone. So as we saw on the poll, many of you already use JMP Student Edition. So you know that this software, which is developed over 35 years, and as Ross mentioned, not primarily as a teaching tool, that this software is powerful, flexible, and also very accessible already. Today we will explore options to tune JMP for teaching, making life easier for both students and instructors. And we are also looking forward to our discussion at the end about the students' experience using JMP for the first time and how to lower any barriers using built-in and external tools and even some AI-supported guidance. And saying we includes our guest and co-presenter, Co Reepkema, who will add his perspective and teaching experience from the academic world. Co will introduce himself, and after a brief look at our scenario and the baseline, our starting point using JMP just out of the box. Our scenario, we assume here, is a new course on statistics teaching linear regression, and all or most of our students are new to JMP. So just opening a standard or sample data set like the CARS data set, teaching regression instructors have several options. On the student menu, the applet demonstrate regression is more a playground to experience or demonstrate, but also experience statistical concepts by students. Concepts like least squares regression and also uncertainty. During data exploration, students may discover simple linear regression also in the graph builder. So if they visualize the city mileage of our cars by horsepower, they will see this scatter plot and they can easily switch from the smoother to a simple regression line. Looking for more analysis platform on simple linear regression. Students will be pointed to the bivariate analysis, fit y by x, which is asking for two numeric variables. Let's use the same variables again, city mileage by horsepower, and launch this analysis. And then students get the default report with a graph and statistics, with context menus, the famous red triangles in JMP, and also some sample presets to switch the focus of this report. Moving on to multiple regression, just running this script here. This is a fit model report the students can browse and then also dive deeper using the same techniques, the red triangles, right clicks, and so on. So far, so good. So, Ko, how does this work from your experience, and how can we simplify the onboarding of students and also sharing content, leveraging some built-in tools?
Okay, thank you, Volker. I first will show my screen. Well, I hope that it's now appearing. There it is.
Yes.
And thanks for, let's say, introducing, let's say, the topic of the seminar, and also introducing the way that onboarding students start with being challenged by trying to fit regression models. I would now like to share my long experience as a university lecturer in engineering statistics and applied mathematics at the Eindhoven University of Technology. And that means that from there on, I will start here with this slide, where the Eindhoven University of Technology is located in the southern part of the Netherlands. You see that on the map on the left-hand side. And where I have a long lasting career, where already in 1993 I published a book, by the way, in Dutch, for software integrated introductory statistics courses. And since that time, I'm working on, let's say, trying to get future engineers well prepared for their job where data analysis might play a role. My current focus in education is on the research skill program for PhD students, where I integrate the JMP Student Edition to help prepare young researchers and engineers for their future careers. On the other hand, I'm specialized in the field of design of experiments, more specifically in the field of meta modeling and, let's say, building models for deterministic simulations, which now are used in digital twins. I will talk about my experiences with introducing and using JMP in those courses for the PhD students, the research skill program. And additionally, I will briefly summarize several resources that I have found particularly useful for efficient integration of JMP into my courses. If we look at the PhD program, then we see that in the program, it's composed of an offer of 4 courses indicated on the slide, where we have one course, which is an introductory one, a basic course. It's called Practical Data Analysis for Researchers. And it is focusing on getting students who already have some experience in statistics but want to refresh it, to get them synchronized at the same level. Furthermore, there are 3 follow-up courses at the moment. We call them, in a nutshell, courses, because they are, let's say, taking a short time and practically oriented. And you see that we have a design of experiments course, a time series analysis, and a predictive modeling course. In the practical data analysis for researchers course, we are focusing on building a conceptual understanding of key techniques, including things like exploratory data analysis, hypothesis testing, regression, modeling, and ANOVA. But we are also focusing on developing the ability to get a good interpretation and a clearly explanation of analytical results as one of the competencies. And we use JMP as an interactive and visual statistical environment, also supporting analytic workflow approaches and first principles of reproducible research. So that's really going farther than, let's say, a basic course in, let's say, first year's bachelor program. Apart from this introductory course, I also teach at the moment 3 short courses on specialized topics, as indicated, a design of experiments course, a time series analysis, and a predictive modeling course, where the predictive modeling course is extending the modeling concepts from classical regression to more advanced AI and machine learning type of approaches like neural networks and decision trees, etc. In these more advanced courses, data preparation and outlier detection also becomes more important, together with aspects of model validation and model comparison, because that's a job that might be part of the engineer's decision process. Reproducible research also plays a prominent role there. And although manual scripting is not yet required and even not needed because of the graphical user interface, the use of automatically generated GSL scripts, so in the scripting language of JMP, is discussed in these courses in the context of reproducible research and also in the context of the proper use of JMP journals and JMP projects, to which we go in somewhat more detail later on. Apart from this, there might be in future some more advanced courses on topics like Bayesian optimization, so smart ways to search for best solutions, also using the new features in JMP 19, as well as functional data analysis, where we work with data that come as curves or signals, and advanced design of experiments methods, especially with a focus on their use for digital twin models and simulation models. For these more advanced topics, students might use more powerful tools in JMP Pro, and sometimes also might work in combination with packages available in Python and R. The new notebook features in JMP 19 make it easier to combine JMP workflows with short pieces of code from other scripting environments, so everything stays clear and reproducible. In the next slide, I've given an overview of the different levels of course and the focus, JMP role, and key tools that are used. And I think that you see there progress as mentioned with the introduction of the previous 3 levels of courses. Apart from this, it's also a situation that I have done a lot of work on integrating software, but especially also JMP in my courses over the years. And a point I want to share, because it can be helpful for others too, is my experience of finding useful resources when developing JMP integrated courses. Although there's plenty of information from JMP and online available, it can still be difficult to locate the most relevant material and avoid reinventing the wheel. Furthermore, instructors need both practical guidance on using JMP, as well as insight into how its tools, the tools available in the software, influence the way modern data analysis is taught. A good starting point I found was the JMP Teaching Resources portal, which provides course essentials, enhancements, and additional materials for different course levels and different target groups, which is also supported by specific webinars, academic webinars on that field. Also helpful are the quick overviews, short videos, and step-by-step guides available from JMP's learning library, because they offer an efficient way to start learning JMP, both for onboarding students and lecturers. And they make it possible that, let's say, the work to get students introduced to the operation of the software can now be taken out of the loop, because you can redirect students directly to the learning library relevant parts of it. Through the JMP user community, you can access additional learning resources for mastering JMP and also find announcements of upcoming events like the academic webinars, where this is one of it, but also, for instance, the JMP Discovery Summit, as well as on-demand e-courses. The JMP community also provides a forum where users can ask questions and discuss current JMP-related issues. I already mentioned the JMP Academic Webinar Library, where we are now also producing a new webinar for. And this provides live webinars on the use of JMP, both in education as well as in research from an academic perspective. But to get an optimal start with the integration of JMP in your courses, the webinars indicated by Ross Methusalem and Kevin Partner are really helpful for onboarding as a lecturer. Finally, it's important that there are also other playlists that can be helpful both for students and lecturers. And those are the Getting Started with JMP playlist, the JMP Essential playlist, that's more, both of them for the basic level and really introduction. And also the Mastering JMP playlist, which treats somewhat more advanced topics that can be relevant for the second level courses. This is an overview of my experiences. And that means that now we can go to, as Volker already announced, the stages that we can recognize in adapting, let's say, our courses for appropriate use of JMP, especially with the focus on students who are new to JMP and on which we want to give them the best starting position. We can look in more detail on how to make JMP easier for your students, and we will cover that in 3 stages. At the moment, you are looking at the first stage, that's how to customize JMP for new users, and that means how to make it more easy for them to navigate through the possibilities and find their way at the first start. In fact, the demo of Volker already showed how there is a lot possible, but it might also be the luxury of an overwhelming number of choices you have to make, and that's where in stage 1 we pay attention to. Thereafter, I will say some words about the second stage. That means that we want to organize our work in JMP, and it means that we want to package material like data files, scripts and other documents in special JMP type of files. And finally, we will discuss how we can expand JMP with add-ins and make a start with generative AI to go to the next level for our students. In the current stage 1, we will focus on customizing menus and toolbars, saving scripts, though scripting as such is not needed by the user, but it might be important to be aware of those scripts for documentation and reproducibility. And we will also focus on creating platform presets, which might be helpful in getting students in a workflow that can be adequate for tackling the problem. Through the View Customize Menus and Toolbars menu, it's possible to hide menu items and toolbars in the screen of JMP that are not needed in a specific course. This feature allows you to, let's say, to reduce the amount of information, the information load on new users, whereas on the other hand, the logic of the menus is quite strong. So I think that for a number of students, it's not really a problem. But what can also be an advantage is, and that's what you see here on the screenshot, that it allows to create new course-specific menus and toolbars. Here you see the one which I've developed for my own courses, and it's the last entry for the menu, the TUE, the Technical University courses, which I've described. And the advantage of this one might be that you synchronize in this way students on their approach and the things they are going to do. So tailoring in this way your environment can be very helpful. These customizations are especially useful in introductory courses where a simplified interface helps students focus on the essentials. However, it's my experience that they are less effective in more advanced courses, as they might reduce students' awareness of additional analytical features which are offered in menus which they might encounter more or less not defaultly. Although scripting is not required in JMP, every GUI-driven analysis automatically generates a script, and these scripts are valuable for documenting the analysis steps and for efficiently reproducing the workflow. For any analysis which is performed, the generated script, the GSL script, can be saved using the final red triangle menu option. So in all red triangle menus, the final option will be to save the script. And you can save the script to several places as indicated on the left-hand side of this slide. The most relevant options for saving the scripts are at the moment for starting courses, the data table and the journal as well as the workflow, but that depends on how you want to organize and share your work and at which level the course is focusing. Apart from this, it can be helpful for new users to limit the number of analysis options shown in the red triangle menus, and this can be done by creating pre-selected platform defaults based on the automatically generated scripts once you do such a workflow of analysis once and capture the results. These presets can be customized for specific courses and distributed to all participants in a course to ensure a consistent standardized workflow. And these are the ones which I really appreciate in my teaching. It helps students at the start to know which steps or which workflow seems to be adequate for solving a specific problem. An example is indicated on this slide where the preset can be addressed through the button on the top right with the star on top of it. And this is, let's say, an example of the presets which are available in the Fit Y by X platform, which Volker used at the start as one of the introductory approaches. You'll see in the list of, let's say, presets that there are sample presets available, but you can also define your own presets. And in this case, the sample presets might be relevant for the steps you expect students to take in analyzing and fitting a regression model and validating the result. The presets can be customized for specific courses, and it's a nice feature that you can make them available for a whole class, so you know that all of them are working with the same presets. Additionally, I've here indicated some resources on further information, relevant information for customizing JMP with these presets, and you see that both the JMP help and let's say a video on the JMP Essentials playlist can be useful for it. This was the first stage which I discussed, so customizing JMP. Volker will show some of those aspects in a minute. But before Volker is taking over, I want also to introduce the second stage, and that's how to package and share course materials in, let's say, in courses at different levels. We will focus, therefore, on not only sharing course materials with students, but also on how students can report and explain analysis results from assignments, for instance, or how they can stay organized when working on larger projects and document workflows in a reproducible way. JMP provides several formats to support this, including JMP journals, projects, workflows, and introduced in JMP 19, JMP notebooks. In the table on this slide, I've given an overview of internal JMP formats that can support teaching. There are more formats available, but these ones might be really helpful for teaching, also depending on the level of the course and the level of documentation that's needed. Across all course levels, JMP journals and JMP projects are particularly useful also in getting students introduced in working with larger projects. JMP journals work well for assignments of students because analysis steps and results can be explained and documented in a single file. And JMP projects bundle all relevant data, tables, scripts, and JMP windows from an analysis, making them useful both for sharing course material and for keeping project work organized. JMP workflows allow users to record multiple step analysis as a recipe without the need to writing all the code, which is valuable for reproducibility. And finally, JMP notebooks might play a role in situations where let's say both Jump, Python, and R scripting are used, and they can therefore serve as an effective coding notebook. Additional information on creating especially Jump journals and projects, which I think are also already in starting courses helpful, can be found from the resources indicated. And they also give you some ways or some tips and tricks how to organize them in an appropriate way. I will now hand over the presentation to Volkert, who will give a short live demo of some of the customized options I've introduced in stage 1 and some of the packaging formats I've discussed in stage 2. So Volkert, I now give it over to you, so I stop sharing and you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Ko, for mentioning these examples. I don't want to go into details again and just give some pointers where you can find these customization and also packaging options in Jump. So for customizing menus, you can go both ways. Yeah, you can simplify and menus and reduce complexity, either by customizing the menus, also the toolbars, or in the Jump preferences on menus, you can also uncheck all the advanced menus. And you see on my screenshot here how this compares to the full standard analyzed menu, which also has text analytics, quality, reliability tools, and much more. You can also develop your own menus as Ko did. So there's an example also on the marketplace, the Make Six Sigma menu for teaching process quality. Saving analyses, I assume this is maybe the most well-known option we are talking about, but this is really handy also for onboarding students. So you're probably aware any analysis can be saved as a script to the data table, and then by clicking on the green triangle, students can just reproduce the analysis, and it will be very convenient, reproducibility also consistent for all the students, and the scripts are bundled with the data set. Ko also mentioned platform presets you find here on that icon. So now we are looking more at a standard output of this fit Y by X platform, but using presets like this sample preset looking into correlation and summary statistics, the same platform totally switches the perspective, and now we are looking more at correlation related information. So you can maintain your all presets and group them and share them, which can be really handy for your students. Packaging, also mentioned by Ko, just two examples, journals, like the journal I'm using for this presentation. So here we see that you can add a lot of information and content like text, outlines, references to files and web pages. This journal is locked, so it's locked for presentation, but if you are editing, you can add all of this information and then also use this as a storybook for presentation, or your students use a journal as a log file, to return their findings either as Jump reports added to a journal or by adding saved scripts. Jump projects, on the other hand, they are more containers for Jump and non-Jump files. And here you can keep everything in a single project file. And projects also use a tabbed report organization. So this also avoids navigating multiple windows. So again, you can have a workflow and all the reports and outputs in a single project window. There are also workflows and notebooks, much more to discover. You can find all of these under File and then New and then you can start with a new notebook, journal, project, or a workflow in Workflow Builder. And with that, I would like to return back to Ko for the last topic.
Okay, Volker, thanks for your introduction and your demo of stage 1 and stage 2 things discussed. I'm now going to stage 3, where the idea is that for next level courses, it might be important or helpful to extend the jump functionality with other features like jump add-ins and perhaps some generative AI and others. And I will, in this stage 3, explore jump add-ins in more detail, but in an overview type of approach. And then I will focus on 2 of them, which might play an important role in our courses which we have in mind. That's the Data Analysis Director add-in and the Jump Learn Bot, because they might be helpful for guiding students as a coach for the way they are going to plan an analysis. Apart from that, I will say just some words about Python and R integration in JUMP, because that might be relevant for more advanced courses. With respect to the add-ins, the general hub for sharing JUMP add-ins, there are a number of them available, is the JUMP Marketplace, where you can discover extensions in JUMP. There are a lot of them available, but we will focus especially on the next slide on jumps that might be helpful in education. And here you see an overview. The central part on top is showing the student menu that's defaultly installed in the JMP Student Edition. But if you would use another edition, then it might be helpful to install it yourself. But you see that on the top left, the Data Analysis Director and the LearnBot are the most important ones, where the Data Analysis Director is helpful in selecting analysis methods in a more strict classical way, so to give students an idea about the concepts that play a role, whereas the LearnBot is acting as an embedded tutor. The other ones, like the Data Builder, the Modern Six Sigma menu, which Volker already showed, and the Preference Manager, are more practical with respect to the logistics of the course. For instance, the Preference Manager makes it possible that a user of JUMP has several preferences defined and can switch in between these options. If we look at the additional information on the add-ins, then here you can find JUMP Help as well as another playlist. It's a playlist on some add-ins which are available from the marketplace, and it's not covering all of them, but for a limited set, you see there are at the moment 10 videos available. It's explaining the use, the working, and giving an example of the add-in that's described. As promised, some words on Python and R integration, because in advanced courses it might be useful to extend JUMP capabilities with Python and R. And it might also be, that's the case at least in the Eindhoven Technical University, that in other courses, for instance for students from the computer science department, they are already working with Python and R and perhaps MATLAB. And then it has an advantage that there's a possibility to more or less combine these approaches. And especially with JUMP 19, several tools are available to support this functionality. And one of them is the Python script editor, but there are more, let's say, functionalities available. Additional information is available either in the academic webinar on the integration of JUMP and Python, and also in part of the videos which are used for putting new features in JUMP 19 in the spotlight. I will now hand over the presentation again to Volker, who will give a demonstration of the Data Analysis Director and the LearnBot in more detail. So, Volker, I will stop my sharing and the floor is yours.
Thanks again, Ko. And as you all saw, there are many options. There are also many pointers and resources and tools you can use. We will share the slides Ko presented and also the JUMP journal I'm presenting with a recording, so you can also explore all the information yourself. At the end, I just want to show you where to get and how to get started with the Data Analysis Director and also the LearnBot. So these are two of the add-ins you can download for free from our marketplace, marketplace@jump.com. And here you also see the student menu. There's also the Six Sigma menu available here, and then the LearnBot and also the data analysis director. The letter DAD, I don't want to say that, that's a bit strange, but the director will be available after the installation on the add-ins menu. Yeah, so you can just start it from here, and then this is a rule-based expert system. So it works like a decision tree, and students are asked to specify the task they are working on, so process behavior, for instance, then the goal, what do they want to do and to analyze, and then what is the type of their data. Yeah, and then JUMP recommends a statistical technique and also some further information. So here the technique is a control chart, but the students are also told which type of control charts make sense for different types of data. Yeah, you can go to the help, watch a video, or open a workflow, another example on this task. That's the data analysis director. As I said, more rule-based. And then the other one, the LearnBot, is an AI-based tool. So this works like an embedded, a personal tutor who is always available. And available means after download and installation, it's the first option on the help menu, Ask the JUMP LearnBot. Yeah, and this one is AI LLM based, so it already learned a lot about JUMP and also about statistics. And to keep it brief, I have a LearnBot conversation saved here. My first question was still teaching regression, so I asked, how can I evaluate the performance of a regression model? Yeah, and then the LearnBot told me about some key performance metrics, R squared, some errors in the first place. It also mentioned validation and generalization of models in the second place, some additional topics, and then at the end, a link to the user community to learn more and the disclaimer. Yeah, this response was generated by an AI model and might contain errors. So fact checking is not a bad idea, of course. So this mentioned overfitting already, but I added a follow-up question. What if my model should be used for prediction? And then I get even more information about validation and how to avoid overfitting, some other tips and references, another resource to learn more, and the same disclaimer again at the end. So I could follow up with more and more questions and take this as a conversation with that personal tutor. These are just two add-ins. There are many more add-ins and more coming in the future. Co already mentioned Python and R, and also external resources. And if I should pick just one, I would name the learning library as maybe a very helpful resource in the classroom. And with that, we would like to close this overview, how to provide an engaging learning environment using JUMP. And we are happy to discuss any questions and also hear your feedback and maybe teaching tips you have.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Cohen Volker, for that range of tips and best practices. As we wait for some of the questions to come into the Q&A as they did about this time a couple weeks ago during our last webinar. I'll just reiterate to everybody really quickly that you all are going to receive a link to a recording of today's webinar. And at that link, you'll also be able to download the slides and jump files to review on your own time. So we have another few minutes allotted for Q&A, so please do type your questions into the Q&A and they can be answered here live. And in the meantime, Volker and or Co, do you have any additional thoughts or perhaps questions to pose to our
Well,
attendees?
I've one remark. You see it now on the journal of Volker. There is a bonus section in the handout that's on the impact of generative AI, because that's really a point that's important to have a position in with respect to teaching when that's part of the lecturing. Volker already mentioned the LearnBot, but I'm not going to now discuss the slides indicated there, but I want just to indicate that there are some nice references, at least in my opinion, on the discussion that's going on. One of them is the white paper by Russ Wolfinger from JMP, and there's also an announcement for a presentation of David Meintrup at the Discovery Summit that's upcoming. So they might be of interest. They are included in the handouts, but it's not needed now to show them in detail.
Yeah, and just today, I heard that 89% of all the students are already using AI tools. So we just started on that journey. And I also think that the LearnBoard is a great supporting tool, really supporting statistical thinking, but not replacing it. And that's the important difference here, and the point, especially with undergrad students who have to learn
I
learning and how to use data and how to work with data.
And I want to add to that let's say generative AI can also be very helpful, but you have to be critical and keep on thinking yourself. Can be helpful in developing courses or examples or data sets for demonstration, etc. And that's let's say an issue which is sometimes overlooked, but really can be helpful nowadays. And an example is included in the handouts, which I've already pointed at on the impact of generative AI. Are there questions or things in the chat at the moment, Ross?
Well, I actually have one question here for you all.
Yeah, perfect.
Out of the, you have three different kind of stages or categories of ways of helping students navigate JMP. And within each of those, several tips or best practices. For, let's say somebody's brand new, they're just starting to teach with JMP. If you could only recommend one of these tips or tools or best practices to start with, which one would it be and why?
Shall I start with giving an answer? I think that for a new someone who's starting, I would really advise to have a look at the webinars, the academic webinars, which are introducing some tips and tricks and resources for starting, using JMP in education, because some of them are mentioned there, which you might overlook when really starting. On the other hand, in my opinion, for a basic course, I find the presets you can define for the analysis really helpful, because that gives some structure to the onboarding students without giving them just, let's say, a list where they have to click and find some numbers and that's all. No, they should have a reduced list on which they can decide which details they are interested in and how they do the motivation. So that would be my suggestion, but perhaps Volker has let's say some additional remarks on this.
Yeah, what I would recommend in general is take the students on a journey. The journey can be really fast. Start with showing some simple demos, so that let the students just watch a few demos, and then let the students reproduce and explore and reproducing. So I think here the feature of using scripts either in the data table or from a journal really help the students getting started, get a starting point, a report they can then further customize and change and use to dive deeper and answer more questions. And then the last step, the next level is really let the students become more independent problem solvers and also working on tasks themselves. And then maybe the additional tools also providing some guidance also come in, including the LearnBot, of course.
Yeah. I agree on
Great.
that, and I want to stress that starting already in the basic courses with journals, reproducibility, and that type of aspects gives them the good attitude to grow for further levels. So I really try to, from the start on, introduce them, and that's one of the advantages of the fact that they are available in JMP in such an easy and user-friendly way.